You're not rocking with the realest podcast in the room. No middleman. Souls. Soft rain. Uncle Plug. Let's go. No middleman.
So as we all know, Stephen A. Smith came out and gave an apology to Kyrie Irving. We're going to play a little bit of it. But this segment number 3 is about Kyrie receives an apology. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this on a deeper level. So here we go.
Welcome to the special edition Stephen A. Smith Show. I'm out on vacation, what have you, but I felt compelled to come on the air. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I have to do something that I've done in the past, but I haven't had to do but so much in my career. I just feel compelled to do it today. And that's to issue an apology. There's several people that we all owe apologies to, and I'll put myself at the front of the list. But none more so than the apology that I owe to Kyrie Irving. Now, I know that people didn't see, and his name has not come up over the last several months too much because he sustained a devastating knee injury that kept him out this entire season from playing with the Dallas Mavericks. Probably could have came back early if they were playing for something, but since they weren't playing for much because they were losing basketball games, and Cooper Flag was continuing to develop and ascend, he wasn't really needed. So Kyrie Irving eventually will be back next season, and he'll be the superstar guard that we know him to be, a scoring machine, one of the greatest handles we've ever witnessed, one of the greatest skilled players we've ever seen in NBA history. But this is not about him, the basketball player. This is about him, the man. The reality is that Kyrie Irving, no matter what we think, may have been more right than we have given him credit for, and unquestionably was more vilified than he deserved. And ladies and gentlemen, it starts with me. Keep telling y'all before on many, many occasions, I'm a man. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. But when it comes to Kyrie Irving, I can't apologize strongly enough. You know, you may be wondering what I'm talking about because you may not be paying but so much attention to politics. I do. I always have and I always will. Not from an aficionado's perspective, but just as a conscientious observer, watching the news, watching these shows, listening to perspectives, reading the newspapers, etc. I pay attention to some degree. Not an expert. But I watched a gentleman by the name of Dr. Anthony Fauci show up on Capitol Hill. Show up on Capitol Hill just this past Wednesday. And Dr. Fauci was up there. And he was testifying. He was appearing before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee because they wanted to know specifically about his knowledge in regards to the coronavirus pandemic and what role he may have played, inadvertently or otherwise, in what ravaged this country and this world for over a year, if not longer. 1.2 million American lives were lost. Worldwide, more than 7 million deaths were officially reported. The World Health Organization estimates approximately 14.9 million excess deaths in the year 2020 and 2021 alone. Mm. And while that stuff was going on, we saw Dr. Anthony Fauci essentially protected. We saw him essentially labeled untouchable in terms of questions or scrutiny or anything like that. We saw vaccine mandates and booster mandates and, distancing stipulations and mask mandates and all of this other stuff. And along the way, there were a select few individuals in the world of sports, especially, that stood up and said, nah, I'm not down for this. And it was people like me who were critical of him. In my case, it wasn't about the vaccine itself. It was about the fact that from a societal perspective, if we all got to deal with it, we all got to deal with it. And I looked at a willingness for one to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the team, even though you thought something would be unhealthy for you, potentially. And I felt like it was worth the risk. I didn't want to take the vaccine, but I took it. Millions of other people didn't want to take the vaccine, but we took it. Why? Because there was a mandate that was handed down. And if we weren't willing to meet that mandate, our jobs, our livelihoods, if not compromised in a very significant way, would be completely stripped from us. But there were others who had the courage to say, bunk that. One of those people at the forefront was Kyrie Irving. I bring his name up because I had my issues with him from a leadership standpoint, never as a player, because he's sensational, but with him in terms of leadership. And I didn't look at it as being courageous. I looked at it as being selfish. And I watched Dr. Fauci on Capitol Hill yesterday. And the person I thought about most was Kyrie Irving. There were others. Aaron Rodgers, then of the Green Bay Packers, before moving on to the Jets and ultimately Pittsburgh Steelers. There was Novak Djokovic, greatest tennis player in the world. There was Bryson DeChambeau, golfer extraordinaire. There was Conor McGregor of the UFC. There was Cole Beasley of the NFL's Buffalo Bills. There was Bradley Beal of the NBA. Jonathan Isaac playing for the Orlando Magic. Bradley Beal playing for the Washington Wizards. There was Kirk Cousins for the National Football League as well. There was Tyler Perduzzi for the Detroit Red Wings in the National Hockey League. There was Andrew Wiggins for the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. List went on and on. But Kyrie Irving stood out in my mind because of the heat that he was taking. And now folks were piling on because that was just the latest transgression in their eyes that he was committing and subjecting the public to. He refused the vaccine. New York City's mandate made him ineligible for home games. And he linked his stance to people losing jobs over vaccine mandates. It was Aaron Rodgers, said he was immunized, not necessarily vaccinated, tried to be slick with that. We got on him about that. But then disclosed that he had not received an authorized COVID vaccine and had pursued an alternative immunization protocol. He defended bodily autonomy and criticized the NFL was committing and subjecting the public to. He refused the vaccine. New York City's mandate made him ineligible for home games. And he linked his stance to people losing jobs.
So he inked his stance to people losing their jobs.
Man of the people.
I think this is something very important. We just spoke about it in our last segment, that over 22 million people lost their jobs in 2 months. But you would have thought 22 million people lost their jobs when President Trump took the office. Kyrie Irving was already taking the stance for what was most important, people losing their jobs. How do you guys feel about the Stephen A. Smith apology? And how do you guys feel about what Kyrie, and as you see, there was a list of others. They just weren't as polarizing as Kyrie was. So it was easy to do news on the person that's the most popular. Just to give y'all some details of talking points, he was suspended in the fall of 2021. He also was the New York City's indoor vaccination mandate, which made him ineligible for home games specifically. He gave up a 4-year, $100 million contract extension over this decision, and he later admitted he reportedly asked the Nets to release him during the suspension, which they failed to do. So the mandate was lifted in New York by March the 2022, when Irving returned and later was traded to Dallas. So how do you guys feel about this? We're going to keep Kyrie on the stream for this one.
Like we said yesterday, like I said yesterday, big ups to Kyrie for standing on something bigger than himself, because he was thinking about the people, man of the people. I'm also going to give him a kudos to Stephen A., him being a man. You know, I'm kind of happy for Stephen A. that he has his own personal platform.
Yeah.
That he can go and address these issues, you know, that he can't address on Disney's channel. And that he can actually get behind this and say what he needs to say. And that's, I really commend him for coming back and righting that wrong that he initially put out there about Kyrie. So it just says a lot about his character, you know. And you know, most I mean, a lot of people dislike Stephen A. for whatever reason. but he is one of the most polarizing news, sports news, analysts, not analysts, but actually provider in the game. Stephen A is the creme de la creme of sports analysts in the game. So, thank him for coming out and saying that. I'm pretty sure that Kyrie really would appreciate it, hearing him say this on his own platform, and understanding that he couldn't say it on Sports Center, even though they have more eyes on Sports Center.
Go ahead, Rain. I do have a question I want to pose to you guys. It's probably going to be controversial, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Being as someone who worked through the pandemic and the mandate for the vaccine, I did take the vaccine. So at that time, it was like either you do the vaccine or you don't have a job type deal. So I had a tough decision to make, being the sole provider at that time of me and my little family. I had a decision to make. So I understand some people's, and that was before my job offered, if you don't take the vaccine, then due to religious purposes or personal beliefs or whatever, then you have to test daily, and you have to purchase your own test and test daily before you come up in here and show us that you have a negative test type deal. If that was an option like placed in the beginning, then knowing what I know now, that I probably would have taken that option as well. But Kyrie being in this spotlight that he was in, and having a stance and taking a stance saying, no, we're not going to do this type deal. He was in more of a place to
isolated.
Do this. Huh?
I said isolated.
Yeah. He was more in a place to do, to stand up against this. And when you have those types of convictions within yourself, like, no, I'm not gonna take this. I'm not gonna do this I'm not gonna put this in my body. This is, this ain't real. This is all a hoax. I don't know what his beliefs were at the time, but for him to say, hey, it is what it is. I'm not doing it. Y'all can continue to do what you want to. I'm not going to do it. I don't recommend anybody doing it. So people that do make those stances, like I do know people personally that did not take the vaccine and chose not to take it. My first reason was my job. The second reason was I didn't want to, with me being on the outside and my mom and my son being on the inside, I didn't want to bring them. I was more so preventing them, hoping to prevent them. I didn't let my son take the vaccine as well. But with the research that was done at the time, the small little amount of research, I did recommend my mom to take it because they were saying like the older population needed some type of protection as far as that goes, with lessening the symptoms whenever they do, or if they were to contract the virus. But and I done went all around the world, and I apologize. But with that being said, Stephen A. Apologizing, rightfully so. I know people in the spotlight get ragged a lot for going against the grain. So, but I do give Kyrie his props for going against the grain and standing firm in his decision. So.
All right. So I have a question for you guys. It's a two-part question. So the first part of the question is, when will we start to stand up for those who are here with us more than we stand up for those who are not here with us? That's part one. And the reason why I asked this question is because as Kyrie was fighting almost an independent battle by himself, the NBA also chose to sit out during the same COVID pandemic bubble when Jacob Blake was shot in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, the Milwaukee Bucks refused to take to court August 26th when the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and a couple others, when they boycotted in Milwaukee. So why do you think we don't stand up for those who are here as much as we stand up for those who aren't here with us?
So I'm telling you, it's them dollars, bro.
No, I'm saying this is not comparing. Like, I'm not talking about the debt, but I'm just saying, like, now, you know, because you think about it, we're breaking this down throughout the night, right? We just found out how many people were dying during the pandemic, how many jobs. Think about it. Kyrie was standing up for jobs that he was standing up now, aftermath, for 22 million jobs.
Because he's thinking about the ones that's actually paying for the tickets to actually come watch him play.
Yes. So why don't we have? Because I asked these questions. We talked about it on No Middleman Plug and Rain. I don't know if y'all remember, because Alyssa was up here. It was on Grown Folks Business or whatever. We were having a debate because we were asking, why isn't LeBron standing up for Kyrie? Like, why isn't the biggest voice in the game not standing up for him, who's here? But then we'll boycott weeks later an issue that's going on in society. Not trying to inflate the two or anything. I'm just asking the question, like, when will we start standing up for those who are still here? When will our fights be about what we see every day?
When the masses push this way, like most people today with the social media mindset, with that series that me and Doe did, that most people's opinion is swayed by popular opinion. So when you are a part of that 78% that's over here, the other 28% over here, you know, it's not, you know, they're going to stand out like a sore thumb. So it takes more of them. Like, say if all the NBA team, all the NBA players was like, nah, man, we ride with Kyrie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it has anything to do with them dollars, ain't nobody riding. You're going to be out there by yourself. Now, should he feel some kind of way? No, he shouldn't. You know why? Because he understands that these boys going to protect that dollar. Kyrie got a whole bunch of kids running around here. I think he got one, don't he?
Kyrie?
Yeah.
I think he got a daughter, if I'm not mistaken.
He got a daughter. He has one. Yeah. All these other guys, they trying to protect that dollar. It's all about that dollar. All these guys are getting extorted. The money we think that they have, they don't have it. And they're trying to protect that dollar. When that dollar's at play, that fictitious dollar that's at play, well, you better believe it, man. Everybody's going to try to protect it at all costs. It's like them dogs at the dog track following that mechanical rabbit around that pole, around that track. That's all they do. They chasing that dollar, man. And nobody's going to allow that. It's not. They're not going to allow that to stop it, man. So they're not going to be worried. Now, they say the ones that are not here, all right, this went too far. Because they could have felt somewhere about their road dog, somebody that they admire in the league, taking shots because, you know, he stood by himself. And then this happens. Now we got to do something. Because we couldn't stand up for that. You know what I mean? They got us by the nuts on this one. But this one, we could take a stance on this one. You know what I mean? Because what he said in the song, one of fatigues to keep you intrigued, but the loss of life, the only thing niggas believe. Like, thank you for your service. But at the same time, you know what I mean? You ain't even think about the ones that was over there that had gave their life already. You saluting the ones who risking their life, but you ain't think about the ones that gave their life. You know what I'm saying? That's like somebody calling you on Memorial Day and say Happy Memorial Day. You're like, what you calling me for? It's for the dead soldiers. I'm Veterans Day. You know what I'm saying? Niggas in fatigue will keep you intrigued, but the loss of life the only thing niggas believe.
Yeah, I just thought I'll ask the question. I just think that would be almost one of the most powerful proactive ways to cut down on a lot of things that happen in society. If we were proactive about those who are here, like I'll give you a positive spin on it, right? Even though I might not agree with everything, well, how hard people are going for Carmelo Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna mean more if he gets out. You see what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
like he's still here.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be able to get out and speak on his behalf. He's going to be able to get out and make a movement, make a foundation, you see what I mean? Like he's here. So like, why don't we fight for those even harder who are here? Because they're going to be the ones who can now continue to move that needle. Because I don't care what you say, you can agree, disagree with the situation with him, but the day he gets his freedom, all that support he sees that he received, it's no way you're not going to want to move America. There's no way. You might see it out of a different lens, but I don't see you not wanting to move the needle. You know what I mean? Mm.
Mm. Mm.
Thank you. I just thought I'll ask the question, like, because I like that's what I always I know a lot of people feel like, but that's what I kind of think about is like, okay, we're talking about this, but man, okay, Plug doing this though. Like, why we ain't riding for Plug? Like, that's how I be thinking. Like, he here. Like, why are we not being on his wagon even harder too? Because he's going to be able to see the difference, make a difference, and be the difference.
Yeah.
Because once they're gone, unless you want a bill or a scholarship, or it's just going to be something named after you. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't going to be like, that's it. And then it has to be the people who truly love you who pushes it forward. You see what I mean? So,
I hear you.
We can get to the comments though.
As I said, we even knew Kylie was solid. We don't want to hear that ish. Classic said, you planted your flag firmly on Kyrie's neck for months on end. Eat a bratwurst. Classic said, Kylie would give him grace though, so I'm going to let him rock. Kyrie. Classic said, man, no, I can't stand when people think a genuine apology washes everything away. No, sir, ski.
It's as that's just one of my rules. When a man is man enough to stand in the pain and give you that apology, just like he can give you a foul one, you accept it.
Maddie said they got me with the vaccine about a week after I got out of the hospital, so I took it because I was like, I won't make it if I get COVID again. But if I knew what I know now, I would not have taken it. Maddie said, so it is one of the questions I have asked myself and others, and I can't figure it out. I feel we need to support each other in life and death. Classy said, money is no excuse. Mike Hunt said, now they're thinking about it. We think about is why we have the highest volunteer output in America from young people since World War II, with Trump in office, and the lowest occurred under Biden. He also said, like, community is going to have to get this ish together. Democrats effed you over, destroyed LBJ by putting the removal of the black father on the nucleus of the family with the welfare state. He also said, and that's why you have 89% of all crimes are made by less than 18% of the population that's black, usually young men between the ages of now 14, dropped 2 years ago, and 58 black men.
Thank you for the information, Mike.
Yeah. He said yes, because you get in echo chambers. You don't have you don't have, all I got to do is wait for the facts to come out. They're coming out in every one of those white kids in Alabama that you hated on. Big. Classic says, save them words. That fair one is what is Niski.
All right, man. All right. Just wanted to talk a little bit more about that, man. Shout out to Kyrie, man, for making the ultimate sacrifice, dog.